Welcome to Sleepy Chronicles. Before we begin our journey into the deep, flickering shadows of the past, I want you to settle in. Dim the lights, pull your blankets close, and let the weight of your body sink into your mattress. Forget the world outside for a moment. Tonight, we are traveling back to a time when the night was not a single block of silence, but a doorway divided in two. In this episode, we will explore the strange reality of segmented sleep, a world where waking up at 2:00 a.m. wasn't a failure, but a scheduled part of life. We will discover the watch, the midnight multitasking of our ancestors, and how the Industrial Revolution changed the way we dream forever. Close your eyes. Let the journey begin. The year is 1350. Outside your window, there is no hum of electricity, no distant sound of tires on asphalt, and no blue light glowing from a screen. The darkness is absolute, thick and heavy, broken only by the silver glow of a moon that feels much closer than it does today. In this world, sleep is not a timed sport or an 8-hour marathon. It is a natural 2-part rhythm, split neatly in half like a piece of stale medieval biscuit. As the sun dips below the horizon, the village grows quiet. Without artificial light, your body follows the ancient command of the sun. You drift off early, shortly after dusk, falling into what your neighbors call the first sleep. It is a deep, heavy slumber, the kind that comes from a day of physical labor and a mind free of digital distractions. But then, around midnight or 2 in the morning, something happens that would panic a modern person. You wake up, but you do not reach for a pill or worry about insomnia. In the medieval world, this wakefulness is expected. It is called the watch. For the next hour or two, the world comes alive in a quiet, secondary way. This is the time for medieval midnight multitasking. You might hear the rustle of straw as your family members also stir. In the dim glow of the dying hearth, you might see your father tending the fire to keep the winter chill at bay, or your mother whispering her night prayers to guard the house against demons. The watch was a practical, social, and even spiritual interlude. People used this time to read by candlelight, reflect on their day, or check on their livestock. There is a certain quiet peace in knowing your goat is safe in the yard, while the rest of the world remains in shadow. It was also, as medieval physicians noted, the ideal time for intimacy, a moment when the body was rested, the mind was calm, and the house was still. Modern science suggests that this segmented cycle might actually be more natural for the human body than the uninterrupted block we strive for today. Our circadian rhythms, in the absence of light bulbs and phone screens, naturally lean toward this two-part harmony. To the medieval mind, the night was a resource to be used, not just a gap between workdays. Eventually, the pull of the second sleep begins to weigh on your eyelids. You crawl back into your straw-filled pallet, feeling the warmth of the embers, and drift off once more until the sun touches the thatched roof. The watch is over. The rest is deep. As you listen to the silence of this ancient night, remember that your ancestors weren't bad sleepers. They were simply in tune with a rhythm we have forgotten. Let yourself drift now. The first sleep is ending, and the watch is peaceful. When you wake, it will be to the light of a new world. But for now, the darkness is your friend. Sleep well, traveler. The second sleep is waiting for you. The second sleep is a heavy, thick blanket of exhaustion. But before you slip back into it, you become aware of the physical world pressing against you. In the modern age, we speak of thread counts, memory foam that cradles the spine like a cloud, and cooling gels designed to trick the skin. But here, in the heart of the medieval night, your bed is a much humbler approximation of comfort, a pile of stuff that was recently alive, now flattened under the weight of poor sleep and unspoken regrets. If you are a typical peasant, your world is defined by the straw mattress, known as a pallet. It is essentially a rough burlap sack stuffed with hay or straw. And if you are truly poor, you don't even have the luxury of the sack. You are simply lying on a pile of straw on the floor, possibly damp, and likely already claimed by the family cat. As you lie there in the quiet interlude of the watch, the straw speaks to you. Every time you shift your weight, it rustles and crunches with a dry, earthy sound that echoes through the silence of the cottage. But the straw is never truly empty. It is a bustling city of its own, harboring insects, lice, and the occasional field mouse that sees your bed as a warm refuge from the frost. If something itches, you have learned to ignore it. If something bites, you simply shift your weight slightly and hope the tiny intruder finds someone else to feast upon. There are no pajamas here to protect your skin. You are sleeping in the same rough wool or linen tunic you wore all day in the fields, in the workshop, or at the hearth. Pajamas are a concept from a future you cannot imagine, and personal space is a myth. You are not alone on this straw pile. You are pressed against your siblings, your parents, and perhaps a grandparent, all huddled together in a single communal huddle of warmth. If the room grows too warm, you might accidentally roll into a cousin's elbow, a sharp reminder that privacy is a luxury of the rich. If your family had a bit more money, or at least a functional back, you might have elevated this straw sack onto a wooden frame. It doesn't change the prickly sensation of the hay, but it does slightly reduce the chances of waking up with a beetle in your ear. To protect your head from the biting drafts that seep through stone walls and thatched roofs, you pull your nightcap lower. This isn't a cozy drink, but a long, pointed wool hat, practical, itchy, and your only defense against a room that feels like an icebox. If you were a traveler, a pilgrim, or a merchant whose mule gave up halfway to your destination, the experience of the night would be even more crowded. You would find a roadside inn, but you would not find a private room or even a clean floor. Instead, the innkeeper would lead you to a massive wooden frame already occupied by 2 or 3 complete strangers. Privacy is not expected. If the bed has space, it is meant to be shared, even with people who snore loudly, talk in their sleep, or possess a suspicious number of boils. You would sleep with your purse tied tightly to your belt or hidden under your clothes, turning your luggage into a pillow and a crude alarm system. If your bag moves, you wake up poorer. But perhaps the most important companion in your medieval night is not human at all. To your left, in the corner of the single room that makes up your home, you hear a heavy, rhythmic breathing. It is the family cow, or perhaps a large pig snorting softly near the hearth. This is not a choice made out of affection. Though you value your animals, it is a heating strategy. In a home with stone walls and aggressive drafts that seem to have names, the livestock are your central heating. Their massive bodies generate a steady, dependable warmth that can raise the room temperature by a precious degree or 2. A cow in the corner in the middle of January is a literal miracle of survival. Only the nobility, the dukes and counts in their high stone towers, know a different kind of night. They sleep on massive wooden frames with feather mattresses, embroidered sheets, and silk canopies designed to keep out the drafts and the lice. Their beds are so valuable they are mentioned in wills, passed down like pieces of land. But for you, the straw settles, the cow breathes, and the drafts continue to howl. You pull your nightcap lower, wrap your wool cloak tighter, and wait for the second sleep to take you back into the shadows. The room is growing dim. The heat from the hearth is fading, but you are safe in the crowded dark. Rest now, for the watch is nearly over, and the dreams, those messages from the beyond, are starting to find you. May your straw stay dry, and may the monsters of the night find someone else to feast upon until the sun rises. as you lie there, huddled against the warmth of your family and the rhythmic breathing of the livestock, the physical world begins to blur, and a much heavier weight descends upon the room, the weight of the spiritual world. In the medieval mind, going to bed is not just about closing your eyes. It is a nightly gamble where the stakes are your eternal soul. You do not simply drift off into a void of nothingness. You prepare yourself to potentially stand before the Creator. This is a time of spiritual damage control, a series of rituals designed to cleanse the soul before it wanders into the vulnerable state of slumber. The darkness around you is not empty. To you, it is alive with unseen forces, saints watching over the faithful, but also demons hiding in the shadows of the rafters. Before the second sleep takes hold, you engage in your nightly antivirus routine, the bedtime prayers. Forget the calming music or lavender sprays of the future. Your wind-down routine consists of intense confessions and psalms. You whisper these words into the straw because you know that in this year, 1247, simply being over the age of 30 is a victory, and dying in your sleep is a very real possibility. You recite, "If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take," not as a sweet rhyme, but as a legal document for your soul, just in case you do not see the dawn. If you were a monk or a nun, the stakes of the night would be even higher. You would be lying in a vast monastic dormitory, arranged in neat rows like morally upright sardines. In these stone halls, comfort is a sin. You sleep on hard wooden planks, often without a pillow, and you sleep fully clothed in your robe and sandals. This isn't just about modesty. It's about being ready. When the bell tolls at 2:00 or 3:00 a.m. for the service of matins, you must rise instantly from the cold floor and shuffle to the chapel to chant in the flickering candlelight. In the monastery, the night is governed by a vow of silence, so absolute that even a loud groan while rolling over could lead to a week of punishment. Silence is the shield that guards your mind from temptation. But even in the deepest silence, your mind is never truly quiet. For the medieval person, dreams are the Netflix of the night, but with much more terrifying consequences. They aren't just random firings of a resting brain, they are messages. A dream of fire might be a warning of hell, while a dream of water could mean spiritual purification, or perhaps a premonition of drowning. You take your dreams so seriously that you might fast for 3 days, or call for a priest if you dream of something as strange as a man with a goat's head. Your soul is considered active while your body is still, meaning that your actions in a dream could reveal hidden sins or spiritual weaknesses. This belief makes the phenomenon of sleepwalking particularly dramatic. If you were to rise from your straw pallet and wander through the cottage with glazed eyes, your family wouldn't blame stress or exhaustion. They would fear you are possessed, bewitched, or that your soul has been temporarily released to bumble around like an unattended mule. To prevent these devil's rehearsals, some villagers might even tie a person's leg to a chair or hang iron charms over the bed. As the distant monastery bell tolls once more, signaling the midpoint of the night, you pull your cloak tighter. The world of dreams is opening its doors, filled with knights, angels, and demons. You have said your prayers, you have confessed your sins, and you have fortified your soul for the journey. The straw rustles one last time as you settle into the profound, heavy quiet. The watch is over. The second sleep is here. Let the messages from the beyond find you now, for the sun is still many prayers away. The night stretches on, and perhaps you find your current position, sitting partially upright against these massive, lumpy bolsters, a bit strange. But in this world, you would never dream of lying perfectly flat. Your local priest, who often doubles as the village's medical consultant, has warned you that lying flat is dangerous for the balance of your bodily humors and could lead to a fatal congestion of the brain. More importantly, there is a spiritual fear that chills you more than the draft from the stone walls. You believe that lying completely flat makes you look too much like a corpse prepared for a funeral. You do not wish to confuse the angel of death or invite him to take a soul that appears to be already gone. So you remain propped up, a semi-seated sentry in your own bed, perfect for digesting your evening meat pie and fending off any surprise demon attacks that might come in the dark. In the modern world, you might value a private room as the ultimate luxury. But here, sleeping alone is considered suspicious, impractical, and downright unsafe. To be alone in the dark is to be vulnerable to the devil, who is believed to work overtime once the sun goes down. Having your family, your servants, or even a traveling stranger nearby creates a moral buffer zone. If something were to go wrong, or if a demon were to approach, at least someone would be there to witness the struggle. Group sleep is not just about warmth. It is about public accountability. In some religious circles, being assigned to sleep alone is actually a form of punishment, a way to test your soul against the temptations that only arrive in solitude. As you settle into this crowded, upright slumber, The world outside refuses to stay quiet. But you have learned to sleep through chaos that would baffle a modern mind. You sleep through the heavy, rhythmic tolling of the monastery bells that mark every sacred hour, their deep bronze ring becoming the lullaby of your overscheduled soul. You sleep through fierce winter, storms that rattle your windows made of thin animal horn or oiled parchment, the wind howling like a banshee through the thatched roof. You have no choice. Work does not stop for insomnia. Tomorrow, you must plow the frozen fields, pay your taxes to the Lord, and dodge the spiritual damnation that seems to lurk in every shadow. There is a strange wisdom in this exhaustion. Whether it is the sound of a distant siege, the crackle of a barn fire, or the passing of the death carts during the plague, your body has adjusted to the noise of survival. You simply curl up under your heavy wool cloak, mumble one last prayer, and use sleep as your only escape hatch from a world that feels like it might end every century. But as you drift deeper into this second sleep, the line between reality and the supernatural begins to blur. You begin to wonder if the movements you hear in the straw are truly mice, or if the whispers in the dark are merely the wind. The fear that has governed your sleep habits, the prayers, the night caps, the communal beds, is starting to boil over into something much larger. The village is restless. The air is thick with more than just wood smoke. It is thick with suspicion. Rest now, for the morning will bring a different kind of darkness. The dreams you have tonight are no longer just yours. They are becoming part of a collective nightmare that even 1,000 prayers may not be able to stop. Sleep well, for the peace of the night is a fragile thing, and the shadows are beginning to speak. The shadows that spoke in the medieval night eventually grew into a roar that the world could no longer ignore. As the 17th century arrived, the spiritual gamble of sleep reached a fever pitch, most famously in the frost-covered village of Salem. Here, the messages from the night were no longer just personal warnings. They became legal evidence that led to the gallows. The people of Salem believed they were building a holy city in a wilderness stalked by Satan. In this climate of fear, the phenomenon of spectral evidence emerged the belief that if someone's ghost-like form appeared in your dream or your watch, it was a sign of their pact with the devil. You couldn't cross-examine a dream, and you certainly couldn't disprove it sleepwalking. Once blamed on bad humors or the devil's rehearsal, was now treated as a theatrical display of possession in the middle of a courtroom. The girls who accused their neighbors would shriek if the prisoner looked at them, claiming they were being pinched by invisible forces. Logic faded as hysteria took control, and 19 people were led to Gallows Hill because of the terrifying weight people placed on the visions of the night. It was a breakdown of compassion in the face of a collective nightmare. But as the gallows grew silent, the world began to change in a way that would alter your bedroom forever. The end of the watch did not come from a change in the stars, but from the arrival of the industrial era. Factories, gas lamps, and a growing fear of unproductivity began to dismantle the ancient two-part sleep cycle. Humans began to enforce the idea of 8 uninterrupted hours, treating sleep like a timed sport rather than a natural rhythm. We traded the midnight prayers and the warmth of the family cow for the hum of machinery and the cold efficiency of the clock. The communal bed, once a fortress against the cold and the demons, was replaced by the luxury and the loneliness of a private room. As you lie in your bed tonight, listen to the silence. There is no rustle of straw, no livestock breathing in the corner, and no fear that lying flat will invite the angel of death. The monsters that once hid in the rafters have been explained away by science as stress or too much cheese before bed. The nightcap you wear is likely a memory, and your mattress is a marvel of modern engineering that does not harbor field mice or lice. You are safe, you are warm, and you have the rare, modern luxury of a night that belongs entirely to you. The centuries of segmented sleep, the armored nights of nights, and the whispered prayers of peasants have all led to this moment. The watch is over, and the morning is no longer a spiritual victory, but simply the start of a new day. Let the heavy 8-hour block of the modern world pull you down into a rest that our ancestors could only dream of. The straw is gone. The spirits are quiet. The dream is finally your own. Good night, traveler. May your sleep be long, your mind be still, and your heart be at peace until the sun rises.